to the Portfolio Committee of Justice and Correctional Services. The chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services must initiate a process that will result in the amendment of Section 224 of the Constitution in pursuit of improving socio-economic conditions of the citizens of the Republic by introducing a motion in terms of Section 73(2) of the Constitution in the National Assembly. This relates to the amendment of the Constitution and to read as follows. The primary object of the South African Reserve Bank is to promote balanced and sustainable economic growth in the Republic while ensuring that socio-economic well-being of the citizens are protected. The South African Reserve Bank, which is number 2, in pursuit of its primary object, must perform its functions independently without fear, favor, or prejudice, while ensuring that there must be regular consultation between the bank and Parliament to achieve meaningful socio-economic transformation.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. Public Protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, calls on Parliament to change the Reserve Bank's mandate. She argues that its mandate should instead focus on economic growth rather than maintaining price and currency stability. But while the call is welcomed in some circles, it sparks a backlash in others.
If, for example, you are a leader of the ANC or a leader who has been deployed into the ANC to manage an institution that existed for over 70 years before 1994, it's unthinkable that your first task cannot be to do a thorough and an entire review of the institution that you are inheriting.
The independence of the Reserve Bank, that is sacrosanct. It's in the Constitution. There's no intention whatsoever, even in the resolution, to tamper with that. In fact, the resolution affirms our commitment to the Constitution and the independence of the Reserve Bank.
COSATU has been calling for the nationalization of the Reserve Bank of South Africa. It's at the moment owned in Germany and elsewhere. It's privately owned. It is not actually playing the role which South Africa as a state has aligned itself with, of a developmental state. You see, the Reserve Bank always relies on what they call the committee, the MPC, is reliant on one instrument, interest rates, to target inflation. That's the only thing they are doing. They are not talking about how many jobs we want to have in South Africa so that we create a stronger, bigger base for collecting taxes when more people are employed. The Reserve Bank at the moment is anti-development of South Africa.
What the public protector has shown is that she's unfortunately unfit for purpose by making that recommendation, which was the argument we made in the selection process during the ad hoc committee to identify a new public protector. It's unfortunate that we're now in a position where this key Chapter 9 institution is headed by somebody who is undermining its reputation and integrity that Thuli Madonsela had spent years building up and reinforcing.
Has Mkhwebane really gone beyond the scope of her mandate? The Reserve Bank seems to think so and applies for a court review. They say the public protector has no power to amend the Constitution, let alone instruct Parliament to do so.
The public protector is right. When there is no action taken, if we go back to say, when did the CX report come out? It's months now. And there is no mention of what the remedial, there's no mention of what the remedial action is going to be. So the public protector has done what she's mandated to do. She's within her mandate.
This matter revolves around the court case that is filed there. So in my view, everything turns on what is before court. That is the issue. I would say we should perhaps consider what the Reserve Bank is praying for. The Reserve Bank basically is concerned about the manner in which the remedial action 7.2 is crafted. They've got an issue about certain words there, which they construe to be depriving basically the Parliament of powers to deal with constitutional matters. They say the public protector has appropriated to herself, the power to change the constitution. And in fact, she went beyond and instructed, the Parliament, and they are not happy about that. That is basically the point. They are not talking about the lifeboat issue. There's no prayer if you can go to those papers, and check them. They are not praying anything about the lifeboat matter. The issue is, here is a public protector who has gone beyond her powers and in the process encroached over the parliamentary powers and changed the constitution.
In her answering affidavit, the public protector does explain what she meant to say. And if you read the paragraphs in her affidavit, she goes at length to explain that the wording, she was hoping that she recommends instead of being prescriptive and instructing Parliament, because Parliament is an independent body and the public protector cannot tell Parliament what to do.
Parliament throws its weight behind the SARB's court application. It says the public protector is encroaching on Parliament's mandate to legislate.
The Speaker of Parliament, the Parliament, as well as the legal advisor of Parliament are missing the plot. I don't think they have applied their minds properly to the Public Protector's report. I don't think those who advise the Speaker of Parliament, they've applied their mind properly, or the Speaker is not listening, because people are excited about this report and recommendations of the Public Protector to say she is looking forward, or the Office of the Public Protector, to change the legislation in the country regarding the South African Reserve Bank.
Parliamentary process, we must recognize and remember, is two processes. It's one, a legislative process, and two, a political process. The political process is one that we test by the ballot, right? The legislative process is one that we test in various institutions within this country. We test the test the legislature using the judiciary, and if the judiciary finds that the legislature is inefficient, it recommends that you ought to make some change to it to fix it, right? This is why when the constitutional court makes a landmark ruling, sometimes that ruling has to go to Parliament so that Parliament can fix the legislature thereof.
But why has the SARB mandate call stirred up a hornet's nest when it seems like a reasonable request?
The case of Public Protector Mkhwebane is she targeted the South African Reserve Bank. The current mandate of the South African Reserve Bank doesn't serve South Africa. The shareholders are all private. They print money for you and I. They print the official currency in Germany. To nationalize or not is the debate. How to nationalize is the other question. But she backtracked initially. She went for the heart of the whole. My Rothschild said in London, before World War I already, give me the control over the money and I care not who rules the country. This is touching the real power by touching the money. And this is a highly contested area at the moment. The owners of the South African Reserve Bank will not forgive her. They will hunt her down and destroy her if they can. Blind trusts controlled by the private owners, the imperialists, the captains of the financial industry have long been set up for leading politicians, judges, and other influential persons. South Africans have no say over their own reserve bank. It's not ours. It's privately owned, remember that. And listen to this documented research by Stephen Goodson in his book, A History of Private Banking and the Enslavement of the people throughout the world. And there's this international banker, the United States Congressman Louis Thomas Mkhwebane, served as chairman of the United States House Committee on Banking from 1920 to 1931. His persistent exposure of the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank, its gigantic train of crime led to his assassination on October 1, 1936. It's that vicious. So one needs to be very, very careful where one trades.
People still feel that private participation is a problem. And they say so in the light of a context when historically the Reserve Bank was created under different conditions. And those conditions might have changed by now, as reflected by a number of countries. As Karima was reflected, in most OECD economies, central banks have moved from private ownership to public ownership. Not something unique in South Africa, but what is important in our case, there's a constitutional protection of that independence, which is sacrosanct.
Such is the foray. The critics call for Mkhwebane to step down, while still others come to her defense.
Advocate Mkhwebane does report to Parliament. She accounts to the Justice Committee, and that's where accountability must happen for these mishaps, which now are going to cost the taxpayer likely millions of rands because of the legal costs she must now pay, having retreated from the legal application where she was being challenged.
I certainly don't think that the public protector should resign. She was not appointed by me, she was appointed by Parliament, and I think that if Parliament wishes to make that recommendation, they should do so. I do not wish to join the chorus. I think it is only fair that the public protector should have said that if there are issues that she wishes not to contest in terms of the cases for the review of her report, then it can only be fair that she should make such a determination, and so those issues will be dealt with when the court process takes place. As I say, should there be a view in the National Assembly as the institution which appointed the public protector that she should vacate her position, then I think the National Assembly is the institution which can make that determination, certainly not me.
I think that the calls for the resignation of the public protector are totally without merit. The affidavit as so filed by the public protector, effectively it's saying, listen, I still stick by what I said. First, she's not saying that the mandate of the South African Reserve Bank should stay narrow to the effect of currency protection, as currently is the case. So she's still contending that based on the evidence that she has considered, indeed it is warranted. The question that I think that is really at issue here is who is then to go and ask, or who is to initiate a process.
In the face of fierce opposition, the public protector makes a sudden U-turn on the SARB mandate issue.
The public protector is hardly 12 months into the job, and I think the public should not worry. They should have confidence in the work that she's doing. She is discharging her constitutional mandate, and they should have confidence in that she will be continuing and being the public protector, which is the job that she was employed to do.
It's a big relief, and congratulations all round as commentators, including a Reserve Bank shareholder, welcome Mkhwebane's U-turn.
I have to say I'm quite astounded about the smart move of the public protector, because actually what we really have to what it boils down to is that she has two in her report, in the number 8 report of the public protector being released on the 19th of June, she has 2 remedial actions, and the 7.1 is the Special Investigating Unit, and the 7.2 was the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services to actually look into this amendment of the Constitution.
But Busisiwe Mkhwebane is now in a dilemma. She needs to save face after backing down on her SARB mandate call. She decides to focus on President Jacob Zuma's challenge of the former public protector's state of capture report. After all, she succeeded Thuli Madonsela and is fully within her rights to pick up where her predecessor left off.
We will be opposing the judicial review application, but I think you know that we're still finalizing the process of collating all the evidence which is needed or which the President required we avail in terms of Rule 53. And we were still finalizing the signature by various counsel on the confidentiality clause. So we are at that stage.
Mkhwebane's affidavit states that Section 96 of the Constitution precludes the President from retaining control over the Commission, as he is alleged to have a direct financial or personal interest in the outcome of the Commission. It is accordingly clear that there is no tenable basis upon which the President can attack the remedial action, and no basis to stay in implementation pending the review. Thirdly, the approach that the President adopted in this matter is impermissible. The remedial action should have been complied with by 2nd December 2016.
The former public protector released the State of Capture report in October 2016. President Jacob Zuma later mounted a court challenge and explains that he has a constitutional right on what kind of commission he can appoint.
Well, I thought that the issue of the state capture had an opportunity to be investigated by the former public protector. And just a few days before she left, she produced a report. Some of the aspects of the report have been taken to review. So there's never been quietness. It can't be correct to say, while the room is burning, then people are just sitting. The new public protector is also attending to that report. You say the parliament itself is discussing the matter. The President has taken a decision to establish the Judiciary Commission of Inquiry and is about to announce when it will start.
Thuli Madonsela's State of Capture report acknowledged the President's constitutional right to appoint a commission of inquiry. However, it stated that only the Chief Justice could appoint the commission head, as Zuma is implicated in the report.
The Constitution is very clear, and the Constitution is a guiding document for all of us to follow. It regulates the entire country, including the President. Now, the President has powers. In terms of Section 84(2)(f), as indicated already. And it's very clear to say the President is the one that is appointing commissions of inquiry, and no one else. There's nowhere in the Constitution itself that says otherwise. Now, if you have a problem with the Constitution, the only thing that you must do is to amend that particular section if we are not satisfied with it. Now, having said that, if you have a problem with that, it then means, correctly stated by Mzwanele again, you don't trust the judges that are going to be appointed by the President. And we have in law what they call a clearly presumption of the impartiality. That means the judge must be regarded as impartial because it's an independent structure in itself. And there's no way that the judge will be able to then take any other decision other than having to look strictly in terms of the law. So this thing to say the President must not be able to do his duty and exercise his powers is really ill-informed and is really not assisting us.
The issue of usurping the powers of the President is clearly there. And I think we can all debate it. The only position that we really have as a BF is that this matter has to be aired in court, and we certainly hope sufficient black lawyers will be appointed to be standing and arguing this matter in court. That's the first position, because that's where this is ultimately needing to be aired. Because where it goes back to, like Mzwanele was saying, is that when Thuli initially had to give the report to Nkandla, she came out in the media and said she doesn't know who to give the report to. Now, after the whole thing was aired through court, she could have approached Parliament to say, in future cases, could you amend the law in such a way so that it gives clear instruction on any office, be it the public protector, on where matters that pertain to the president should be directed for decision. And then she could have made the decision that says, appoint a commission, full stop, and then leave the rest to the president. But she has usurped presidential power in as far as stating how the president should carry out his duties, whereas that responsibility lies with him constitutionally.
No one has ruled any such thing that the president has violated his constitutional powers in relation to this matter. Now, if nothing has been said that the president has done wrong on this matter, the president should still be able to exercise his powers free and fair as per the Constitution. So you cannot be able to say the president must not take a decision on the basis of allegation that has not been tested in a court of law. So that thing falls off.
Separation of powers, this is a head of state matter. Concord has got only one option, is to refer the matter straight to the head of state to do what the head of state must do. No way will, there's no way that Chief Justice Mkhwebane is going to take the power of the president because Thuli had said so, and then make it his power, and then go around appointing. It's really absurd.
While this legal wrangling would still play out in the courts, the debate comes full circle, and the same questions keep cropping up, those of the Reserve Bank's foreign shareholding and the extent of white monopoly control of the economy.
We discuss the issue of a judicial commission of inquiry into state capture. And the NEC agrees, please, President, establish that judicial commission of inquiry, because we need to understand that there was even a debate of whether it should start in 1994 or 1948 or what year and so forth. But what we are interested in is not only to justify the findings of the state of capture report as reported by the Public Protector, is to understand the depth of the involvement of business in influencing government.
And the state must immediately withdraw all its accounts with ABSA, and these monies, which are lots of monies, can then be used to support the emergence of a black bank and a state bank, which will then be able to support our communities and our people as we take the minerals back to our people. The hegemony of your hand Rupert in the banking sector must end.
Widening the scope of the probe could have merit. Meanwhile, there's a growing chorus of voices to nip the issue in the bud once and for all.
We need to address this issue of state capture because it seems to demonstrate that there's been undue external influence over appointments, over procurement decisions within public institutions. Now, what we need to do, comrades, is to welcome the announcement by the President that he will soon be appointing a judicial commission of inquiry to investigate all these allegations.
All of us will be the better once the commission of inquiry has done the investigations and investigated all of the matters that relate to corruption everywhere. Everywhere, not only in relation to state-owned companies, but also in relation to other matters of corruption, the IFMS and other matters that where there have been allegations of corruption, so that all of those who are being implicated in either in corruption or irregularity or in anything can have an opportunity to clear their names, we must be seen to be taking action, decisive and bold action to combat corruption in South Africa.